Hi guys, and welcome to another ebook haul. This one is specifically, as you will have seen from the title of this video, at least I'm hoping. I'm trying to batch film these as I have enough juice on the battery of my camera. This one is specifically for romance, but specifically, how often can I say specifically, for sweet romances. So these should have no explicit sex, and these should be considered closed door or clean romance. That's all I know. On the email, when it comes up to sweet, I like romance. I love the sweet romance. It's pretty much an auto buy for me because I want the sweet. I want to see the relationship develop and it not be just about sex. That is my preference, to see the relationship build and the trust and the love bloom between the people. I prefer that. That is my preference. So when I find out it's a sweet or clean romance, it tends to be an auto buy. The other tag that you'll see on sweet romances come up, or at least that I have found, and not every time, but sometimes when it's labeled as a sweet romance, sometimes it's also a Christian romance. So if you are not a fan of any Christian fiction, just that is a tag to look out for, is when it says Christian romance. It may not say Christian fiction, but it may say Christian romance, which I absolutely do not mind at all. So let's go ahead and get into this. I have quite a few, and I think there's one when I was loading these up on my computer on the tabs that is actually like the third in the series, which I completely missed when I went to buy that. I tried to avoid it if it's further on in the series and get just the first book in a series, but obviously it doesn't always work out because I am oblivious to certain things and get so excited about these books. So let me get this up. Now some of these might have others, like for example, this one I'm looking at that was on the email listed as sweet romance also has the tag of cozy mystery. So sweet romance is just what was on the email that I got, saying that, hey, these are sweet romance books that are free on Amazon, but they could predominantly maybe be listed under a different genre. Like in this case, it says it's a cozy mystery, but so obviously that email is not always accurate. But let's go ahead and get into this. So the first one I will tell you about is called Bradley Farm. This was written by Mary Jane Forbes. This is book number 1 in the Bradley Farm series. So same title as the book, as the first book. This one has 198 ratings with an average of 4.32. It says, rebellious love, hidden secrets. It may just take a city girl to save the family farm. Jane dreams of marrying her high school sweetheart and raising a brood of kids on his beloved family farm. Despite her parents' disapproval and her boyfriend's draft card, she exchanges hurried vows before he ships off to Vietnam. Back on the farm, Jane must fight her own battle with a mother-in-law who frowns on her big city upbringing. Determined to prove she's cut out for country living, the fiery redhead rolls up her sleeves to explore every inch of the family business. Beneath creaking floorboards and layers of dust, she unearths ghostly secrets and a rising mountain of debt that threatens to tear her dreams for the future apart. To save the homestead, she schemes up a plan to bring the old farm into the modern age and out of the hands of the collectors. Under the shadow of unsolved mysteries and the critical eye of her mother-in-law, can she hold on to a home sweet home worthy of her heroic husband, if he ever returns at all? Now it does say it's a standalone romantic mystery sweeping family saga series, so it sounds like you can read these in any order, but this is the first obviously in that order. And that's one thing with reading the synopsis that just reiterates to me, with spicy it tends to be more about the sex and the buildup of the sexual tension and the release or the climax of that sexual tension, whereas the sweet romance is more focused on the buildup of the trust, the buildup of the love, the buildup of the relationship, and I like the buildup of the relationship a heck of a lot more than the buildup of the sex. So anyway, let's just go ahead and move on. Okay, this next one I have is called Welcome Home, Abby, and I think is this number 1 out of like 3 or something where it's involving a wedding. I don't know. At least the cover that I'm seeing on Goodreads. I don't know if it's the same one that you're going to be seeing, but the one I'm seeing, she's in a wedding dress holding a red floral bouquet. So this one says, Welcome Home, Abby. This one was written by Jan Gallagher Dunn. And let's see, this one has 207 ratings with an average of 4 stars. The synopsis on this one reads, She won't be used by a man again. He has a bad track record with romance. So maybe a dual POV just from those 2 sentences? I don't know. And from what I can see just from the 2 paragraphs, start of the 2 paragraphs, it looks like it might be dual POV. Abby fell in love with Jackson when she was 19, not realizing he was from the wealthy Hawthorne family. His father sent her away to protect the family money. She returns 5 years later, escaping a nasty fiancé, determined not to fall in love anytime soon. She needs protection, and Jackson needs a mother for his daughter. Abby agrees to a 1-year deal, touched by the idea of a motherless child. Jackson admits Abby is the only woman he's ever loved, but he married the wrong woman after she left. His deceased wife's family is trying to stake a claim to his daughter. He proposed a platonic marriage. He can handle the fact she's more beautiful. Too late, he discovers she smells just as sweet as he remembered. Abby is wonderful with his daughter. He's a man who can run any business. Why can't he keep her Why can't he keep her arm's length? What happens when both of them want a more permanent relationship, but both are afraid to admit it? Okay, so this one does say there is a trigger warning for past miscarriage from the heroine. So, definitely something to be aware of. Okay, so up next I have, it looks like this one is actually a YA, and this one is called Faithfully Yours, written by Alessa Martel. This is book number 1 in the Cherish Creek series. 62 ratings with an average of 3.9. This says, when Jenny discovers her high school sweetheart is marrying another woman, will she fight for a second chance at true love? Michael and I used to be inseparable, but when I saw him kiss another girl at a high school graduation party, my heart was broken. My first summer break from college means I have to return to our small town and see him again after our emotional breakup. But I'm still bitter over the lost future I always thought we would share. I love things that take place in a small town. I love the small town stuff. When my younger sister reveals that Michael is engaged, I realize I'm not ready to give him up. He's moved on with a beautiful fiancée who seems to make him happy. But can I stand by and lose the love of my life forever? And that's all it says. Now, it does say this book was previously published as When You Were Mine. So definitely, and now it's Faithfully Yours. So if you've read When You Were Mine by Alessa Martel, I just read the synopsis of that book because it is now Faithfully Yours. So it's had a title rebranding. Next up, I have Whiskey and Gumdrops. I actually like the title of that. It just kind of makes me want to giggle a little bit for whatever reason. I've never had whiskey. I've had the Gumdrop gummy candies. Kind of nasty. I think there's only like 1 or 2 flavors that I tolerate, but they taste very medicinal to me. I'm thinking of like the Dot Gumdrop candy. I really don't like those, but I tolerate 1 or 2 of them, but they still taste too medicinal. Anyway, Whiskey and Gumdrops, written by Jean Oram. This is book number 1 in the Blueberry Springs series. This one has 1,527 ratings with an average of 3.57. This one says, one woman, one case of self-denial. One hunky best friend who wants a lot more. Watching the man she thought she'd marry tie the knot to someone else spurs small-town waitress Mandy Matson to finally pursue her dreams of opening her own restaurant. But she can't do it alone. Again, small town, I love to see it. Mandy's going to need the help of her sexy, longtime best friend, Frankie Smith. He has everything she needs and more. She fell for him years ago, but has never allowed their friendship to evolve into something more. After all, he's Frankie Fall Off the Tower Smith. And she has no intention of giving her heart to a daredevil like him. But what happens when Frankie asks Mandy to take the biggest dare of all? That's all it says. Obviously romance is gonna ensue. Okay, this next one I have is called Mismatch, written by Lindsay Armstrong. This is book number 1 in No Match for Love series. This one has 2,323 ratings with an average of 3.82. Okay, so this one reads, Brooke is a professional matchmaker with strict rules for her love life. Luke is her billionaire best friend determined to break them all. Welcome to Toujours Matchmaking Incorporated, where your happily ever after is guaranteed. Luke has loved Brooke for 8 long years. Now that she's engaged to someone else, he's given up hope that she'll ever see him as anything but a best friend. When Brooke begs him for a favor, Luke is leery to accept until he finds out that if he doesn't, she's moving to Italy with her fiancé. And Luke isn't about to lose his best friend and soulmate in one swoop. Brooke has finally achieved her lifelong dream of becoming a professional matchmaker, and now the company is crumbling around her. But she knows who can help. Her billionaire best friend, Luke Ryder. If she can convince him to sign up as her next client, he'll find love and she'll keep her job. It's a match made in heaven. So it sounds like this is another one that's going to be a dual POV. Everything is going as planned until Brooke realizes that finding Luke love means losing him forever. Suddenly, her rules to keep them in the friend zone seem ridiculous. Maybe she's picked the wrong man for her happily ever after. Now the only match she's worried about is the one she can't have. So, there we go. If I see the tag of Christian romance, I'll let you know. Otherwise, it's just a clean romance. Because I do know that some of you will want to know if it's a Christian one. Because it's obviously going to be heavier on religion and stuff. So, but so far, none of these have been Christian that I've seen. So, there's that. Okay, this next one I have is called Second Chance Summer, written by Allie Boniface. Book number 1 in the Whispering Pines series. 472 ratings with an average of 4.18. It reads, if my eyes will focus. Okay, here we go. She can't remember her past. He's trying to escape his. Love may be their only hope. 10 years after leaving home, the last thing Summer Thompson expects is to inherit her estranged father's half-renovated mansion. And the last thing she wants is to face the memories of the night her boyfriend died, fleeting as they may be. Now, a San Francisco museum curator, she plans to stay east just long enough to settle the estate and get rid of the house, until she finds it occupied by a hunky handyman who's strangely reluctant to talk about his past. Damian Knight has been hiding his mother and sister from a violent ex. Whispering Pines is the one place they found peace and safety. He keeps to himself. He tells no one about his past. Yet when the lonely, haunted summer steals his heart, he finds himself opening up to her in ways he should never risk, especially to a woman who's planning to leave town after selling their refuge out from under them. So it sounds like you're obviously going to have triggers, and how explicit and all of that I don't know, but it sounds like we're going to have some triggers in here for abuse, spousal and child abuse maybe. So, and what type of abuse, I don't know, but either way is what it sounds like. It'll have the abuse in there. As their attraction grows, the past begins to catch up with them. Summer's mounting flashbacks leave her confused and determined to uncover the truth about the night her brother died. But that truth will cross paths with the man Damian and his family have been avoiding for years. Can new love help them defeat the pain of the past? Or are some scars too deep to ever heal? So, that actually sounds really good. These all sound really good so far. Once I know it's a sweet and clean romance, I'm almost pretty much guaranteed to like it. I have yet to read one I don't like. So, and I haven't read much because I've just kind of avoided romance in general in the past. But I do enjoy romance, especially the sweet. Anyway, Seascapes and Vegas Mistakes, written by Kay Lyons. This is book number 1 in the Carolina Cove series. This one has 413 ratings with an average of 4.25. When a Las Vegas prank turns into an accidental and very legal marriage, Isabel Shipley is dead set on getting a discreet and hasty divorce. The last thing the struggling artist wants is to admit to her family she's screwed up again. But Everett Drake's desire to give their marriage a chance proves hard to resist. Billionaire Everett Drake is surprised as Isabel to find himself married to a virtual stranger. But what's done is done, and arranged marriages have succeeded with less than the chemistry he and Isabel share. Isabel checks all the boxes, minus her determination to divorce. Can two people from two very different worlds find the common ground that will make a marriage work? Or will they have to admit defeat and end their biggest mistake? So, I wonder if there's going to be drugs or alcohol heavily involved in that, which is going to be like all of a sudden you waking up and you're married to someone. That's my assumption. I don't know if anything else would cause that, but I don't know. Anyway, okay. Moving on, I have Holding On to Forever, written by Heidi McLaughlin. This is book number 1 in the Beaumont Next Generation series. I do see a tag for a sports romance, so if you don't like sports, and I also see the tag for football. So this one says, the road for Noah Westbury has been carved out for him long before he knew who his father was. Making sure he worked hard to deserve the opportunities provided to him, Noah is where he's dreamed of being, starting quarterback for Portland Pioneers. Together with his model girlfriend by his side, life can't get much better. Except that standing in his path is Peyton Powell James, his lifelong friend and the one woman he could never have. Peyton Powell James always knew her future would be in football and dreams of having a successful sports journalism career once she graduates college. After being given the assignment to cover a professional game from the sidelines, Peyton believes that everything is going to plan until one fateful night changes her life. Harsh reality sets in for Noah and Peyton. One could lose everything while the other struggles to keep the families together. So, all right. This next one is called A Match for the Marine, written by Jess Mastorakos. I know I said that wrong, I'm sorry. This is the first book in the First Comes Love series. This one has 1,027 ratings with an average of 4.08. Matchmaker rule number 1, never fall in love with the client. Obviously that rule is going to be broken. Yeah. After working my way to the top, I'm in the running to become the CEO of Southern California's premier matchmaking service. All I have to do is outmatch my conniving coworker. Maintaining my perfect track record should be no problem, especially since my client is a hot Marine with bulging biceps and a killer smile. Matching him up should be easy as pie. Unfortunately, Dex isn't too thrilled with his meddling mother for signing him up for my services. He seems more interested in me than any of the dates I arranged for him. But I will not let this gorgeous gunny get in the way of achieving my life's goal, no matter how dashing and adorkable he lives. Adorkable. It says this was previously published as a novella, but it's now expanded and is a full-length novel. So this used to be a novella. That's interesting. Let's see. Are there any tags I need to make you aware of? Obviously, it's going to be military, and I can't see any other tags on here or warnings. And warnings aren't always going to be listed, but okay, let's go ahead and move on. This next one is called 69 Million Things I Hate About You. I remember this always makes me think of the movie 10 Things I Hate About You that I saw. Oh man, when did that come out? That's been a bit. Now I'm curious. I'm going to Google that because I'm curious. I remember watching that and really liking it. It's been forever since I've seen it. 10 came out 1999. So this came out in 1999. What was the release date? I'm looking. Directed, written, produced, starred, edited, distributed. Release date March 31st, 1999. So I was in 9th grade. So I was a freshman. So junior high. So that would make me 14 or going on, yeah, no, 14, I think, when that was released. Anyway. So, okay, so 69 Million Things I Hate About You, written by Kira Archer. This is book number 1 in the Winning the Billionaire series. There's quite a few of billionaires or millionaires that have popped up. 3,965 ratings with an average of 4.01. This one says, after personal assistant Kirsten Abbott wins $69 million in the lotto, she suddenly has more than enough money to quit her impossibly demanding job. But where's the fun in that? She decides to stay and exact a little revenge on her insufferable ass of a boss. Oh, okay. Oh, and just imagine winning that much money. That would be awesome. Billionaire Cole Harrington quickly figures out something's afoot with his usually agreeable personal assistant. When he finds out about the office pool betting on how long it'll take him to fire her, he decides to spice things up and see how far he can push her until she quits. Oh, okay. This is sounding pretty good. The game is on, with everyone waiting to see who will crack first, but the bet sparks a new dynamic between them, obviously. And soon they realize they just might have crossed that fine line between hate and love. So obviously this is going to be humor, and that is one of the tags on there is humor. And it definitely sounds like this will be comedic, or very humorous at least. Up next I have Colorado Sunset. Colorado, from what I have seen, I haven't been everywhere in Colorado, but for where I've been in Colorado, it is such a beautiful state. So this one, Colorado Sunset, written by Jill Haymaker. This is book number 1 in the Peak View Colorado series. 613 ratings with an average of 4.41. After June Meyer's devastating divorce 6 years ago, she remained devoted to her children and their home in Ohio. Now her youngest child is off to college, and June faces her future with a mix of anxiety and excitement. The Walker House Ranch is in isolated Parkview, Colorado, provides the perfect setting for Jeff Walker to hide from the pain of losing his wife to cancer 8 years ago. Oh, he's raised his sons, and now his ranch and house are his life. It's just simpler that way. Avoiding making any long-term decisions about her life, June embarks on a cross-country road trip to visit her son and grandchildren in California. After car trouble strands her in the beautiful Rocky Mountains, she lands at the Walker Ranch, where she encounters the handsome, rugged rancher, Jeff. While neither is looking for a relationship, they can't deny the chemistry that draws them together. Can they drop their barriers and take a second chance at love? So, one of the tags on this is Westerns, so if you absolutely do not like Westerns, then this may not be the one for you, but maybe it's where it's going to be more romance. Maybe you'll like it. I don't know. But up to you, but definitely does have the romance or Western tag on there. Okay, so this next one is called The Event, written by Whitney Dineen, I'm guessing is how it is said. This is book number 1 in the Creek Water series. It looks like there's a spoon, so maybe it's on the cover that I'm seeing. So maybe this will have something to do with cooking or food. I don't know. Let's see what this one says. This synopsis says, there's a reason Emmeline Frothingham, left her hometown of Creekwater, Missouri as soon as humanly possible. That reason is small-minded, judgmental people who wouldn't know the truth that was coughed up on them like an errant furball. That's gross. After graduating from college, Emmy gets her dream job in New York City as the head buyer at Silver Spoons, a high-end boutique and single girl about town. Her life is ideal. So the spoon is the single spoon. Okay. That is, until the night of the event, her company's annual awards ball at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Nerves plus too much tequila leave Emmy dealing with a wicked hangover, the unemployment line, and a surprise to end all surprises. Oh no. Okay. I'm wondering what's going to happen there. Facing the repercussions of her wild night, Emmy is forced to go home to work in her family's business. But her return puts her dead in the sights of the gossipy country club Harpies, who drove her away in the first place. Will Emmy make peace with her past and embrace the love of her life? Will she discover that the man who seems to be judging her most has a secret of his own? It says, find out in this deliciously fun romantic comedy, sure to put a smile on your face. Let's see, anything I need to tell you? No. I'm not seeing anything that is, just a sweet romance. Up next, I have Retreat into Paradise. This looks like it is a standalone. That's the word I'm looking for. Written by Louisa Valentine. This also has the name of Louise Wilson. So you have Louisa Valentine and Louise Wilson, but the cover that I'm seeing on Goodreads only has Louisa Valentine listed as the author. So I don't know if it's going to be what the deal is with that. This one has 21 ratings with an average of 4.67. City girl Hannah Stockton writes histories as her day job and family histories in her spare time. Needing a temporary escape from a violent boyfriend, she takes up an advertised position as a live-in caretaker with light duties as a country retreat outside Melbourne. The owner, Philip Bolton, is a hunky, high-flying banker who visits on weekends to attend to a small herd of cattle. Hannah is dismayed to discover that Philip has been taught all he knows about farming by his attractive next-door neighbor, who lusts after Philip and resents Hannah's presence. Hannah can't tell whether Philip is more than friends with his guru. So, LGBT rep in this, but we'll see how that goes, if it's just the neighbor and that has the desires, but it's, because it sounds like it's a male neighbor. Anyway. Let's see. Philip has recently discovered a family secret. Fearing Hannah's skills as a family history researcher, he keeps her at distance. Meanwhile, as her boss, he helps Hannah to overcome her fear of cattle as she learns to love country life and Philip. And there are no tags on this that I am seeing, although my computer, there we go. Oh, scrolling. I don't see any other tags on this, so I'm not sure if this is going to have LGBT or not, but it sounds like it might. Okay, this next one I have is called Dream With Me, Cowboy, written by Debra Clopton. This is book number 1 in the Texas Matchmakers series, so this is like the third one that has matchmakers in it, or matchmaking. 3,009 ratings with an average of 4.3. This one says... Oh, this synopsis is very short. It says, for the moment rancher Clint Matlock and Lacey Brown collide, the unpredictable Spitfire turns his life upside down, and suddenly he's having trouble keeping his mind on stopping rustlers. That's all it says. Now, this does say this is Christian fiction. So, romance, Christian romance. So, that is there. So, something to be aware of as well if you do not like Christian fiction. If you don't mind. I just don't know how many scripture references and stuff like that that's going to be in there. Up next, I have Robert, A Christmas Story, written by Darrell Mangum. This has 54 ratings with an average of 3.76. This one says, Michelle comes from a large, loving family. They take up a whole bench in the middle of the tabernacle. They are loud and fun, and that's the way Michelle loves them. How will her life change when a handsome young stranger sits down at the edge of her life? Robert will change everything. Their new adventure together will take them through challenges and great discoveries of happiness. They will each face changes that will put them on a totally new path in life. Each will have to learn to understand the other, but Robert and Michelle will travel that new path together hand in hand. And the only tags on this is just Christmas and contemporary, so not sure what's gonna go on more so or less than that. I don't know. Next up, I have Crooked Cowboy, written by Braylee B. Parkinson. This one has 13 ratings with an average of 4.38. This one says, Haley Leader has just finished a stint in prison for a wrongful conviction. He is hoping that the residents of Friendly Valley will allow him to assimilate back into their happy little town. Jada Sims is a reporter who just finished covering a long-running stressful story. Unfortunately, she became a scapegoat for another reporter and has fled to the mountains of Friendly Valley to regroup. Can Harley leave his reputation behind and move forward in life? Will Jada be able to open her heart and start over? Find out what happens when two outsiders come together in this uplifting, sweet romance. So, there you go. Up next, I have Rescued, a small town single dad romance. This is book number 1 in Finding Providence series, written by Jill Burrell. This one has 461 ratings with an average of 4.46. This one says, breaking down in a nowhere town called Providence wasn't part of the plan. When her life falls apart in a matter of a few hours, all single mother Amy Lawson wants is a fresh start. She doesn't expect to break down and find herself at the mercy of strangers. If securing a safe place for her and her daughter to stay means accepting the help of the brooding mechanic, then she'll do it, despite the mysteries surrounding him. Widower and grieving father Ben Young avoids people, but he's driven to help Amy for her daughter's sake. There's something about Amy that draws him in, and when his cousins show interest in her, he fears he might miss out on another chance at love if he can't find a way to move on. Just when a relationship begins to form between Ben and Amy, she discovers she holds the key to what happened to Ben's family. But will her search for answers cost her everything? Ooh, hidden secrets. Okay, this next one I have is called Coming Home, written by Leeanna Morgan. This is number 1 in the Montana Promises series. This one has 1,389 ratings with an average of 4.5. So this one has a very high rating. Okay. Oh, and I do say a note that these can easily be read as standalones. So that's good to know. I wish more books and series that was the case, that they actually mentioned it on the various websites, whether it's Goodreads or what's the other one that people use a lot now? Storygraph. I don't know if it's going to say it on Storygraph or not. I don't have a Storygraph. I just want one thing. I don't want to mess with two differents. So I just stick with what I've already used. Anyway, let's see. Mia Costas is a successful artist, not an event planner. Agreeing to help stage a charity gala is the last thing she needs, but it's for a good cause, and she doesn't want to let her friends down. When she realizes how important the event is, she knows she's not the best person for the job. And so will the director of the hospital if he discovers who she is. With less than 3 months until the opening of a new neonatal unit, Stan Lewis, the director of Bozeman Deaconess Hospital, needs to organize the biggest fundraising event Montana has ever seen. An event staging company could be the answer to all his problems or create more than he ever imagined. With the hopes of more than one child resting on their shoulders, Stan and Mia work together to create a night no one will forget. And maybe, if they let themselves believe in the power of love, they can create a little magic of their own. That one sounds good. These ones have all sounded good. Now, this one is a case where either I was a dum-dum and didn't notice this was a part of a series, or it wasn't clear. I don't know. More than likely, I was the dum-dum and didn't notice. So I have A Model Bride, written by Autumn Macarthur. This one is actually book number 3 in Love in Store series. This one has 767 ratings with an average of 4.35. I'm not going to read the synopsis because this is the third one. I'm going to click to the first book, but this one does have the tag of Christian as well, so something to be aware of. Let's see, Love in Store, book number 1 is called The Wedding List. And this one has, so The Wedding List has 1,105 ratings with an average of 3.78. Still has the tag of Christian, so it sounds like this is a Christian fiction romance series. So the synopsis for book number 1 is, you never forget your first love. With her eye for design and her cut glass accent, no one would guess Beth Forrest's impoverished background. It's all throw pillows, china patterns, and upper-class brides as she manages the wedding registry at Petite and Mayfield. the stately maiden aunt of London department stores. It's not quite her dream job, but each bride she helps to select beautiful and oh so expensive items for their gift list brings her one step closer to buying a little home of her own and financing the education she longs for. When physics professor James Thurton Hart, brilliant in his research lab, but awkward and disorganized in everyday life, comes to the store in desperate need of both a gift and a partner for a wedding that evening and recognizes her, all her careful plans and meticulous checklists are turned upside down. Now her first love is back, determined to make her his partner for life, not just the evening. But unless Beth can let go of the mistaken beliefs that separated them in the past and appreciate the depth and breadth of God's love for us all, her only gift for the wedding will be another heartbreak. Now this is interesting what this one says. It says includes Halloween costumes, kissing, and a hint of gentle slapstick humor, as well as British spelling. Book one. Book one in the Love in Store series of sweet inspirational romances. The Wedding List is a novella-length prequel to Believe in Me, a semi-finaling entry in Harlequin's So You Think You Can Write Contest 2013. Okay. This one says, The Wedding List is a Christian romance. Please don't buy this book if you're offended by the G-bomb, aka God, Jesus, and mention of prayer, church, or the Bible. So, that's why I'm telling you if I see the tag Christian romance, because I know that some people want nothing to do with anything mentioning prayer, church, scripture, God, Jesus, anything like that. So that's one reason why I want to tell you this is Christian, because some people absolutely want nothing to do with Christian. I love the Christian romance, so I don't mind that that is there. So this next one I have is called Newport Harbor House, written by Cindy Nichols. This is book number 1 in the Newport Beach series. This one has 3,404 ratings with an average of 4.11. Jen Watson is worried that this may be her last summer at the family's beach house. She looks forward to going there every year, but they've been grumbling about not wanting to sink money into any repairs. She's hoping she can change their minds, but when a major catastrophe happens, it may be too late and the family insists that it go on the market. Her two best friends, Faith and Carrie, are struggling with issues of their own. Carrie has her own dental practice, but dreams of a career where people are actually happy to see her. And Faith is mentoring a student teacher and can't help but notice how much things have changed since she started teaching decades ago. Jen, Faith, and Carrie have spent their summers at the beach house, and the memories are many and warm. Even their adult children don't want to see it go. They all hate to see Jen lose the Newport house, and all put their heads together to find a way to save it. So, okay, that sounds good. Up next, I have To Protect and Serve by Stacey Stallings. This is book number 1 in the Courage series. This book has 2,430 ratings with an average of 4.19. And this one is also tagged as Christian fiction, so please be aware of that. It says, to save others' lives, they will risk their own. Houston firefighter Jeff Taylor is a fireman's fireman. He's not afraid of anything, and no situation is too dangerous to keep him on the sideline if lives are at stake. Lisa Matheson runs a semi-successful ad agency that's on the brink of falling apart. Her employees are incompetent, and her schedule has become exhausting. When she takes on a client with a brilliant idea for a big conference, she thinks that maybe, finally, this is her lucky break. However, the fire station wasn't what she had in mind for finding conference speakers. When she falls for a handsome but shy firefighter, it's possible that life might just be going her way for a change. The only problem is she can't control Jeff and the death wish he seems to have. So, yeah. I can't imagine just any worry that the spouse or partner of a police officer or firefighter or EMT or I think oil rig people are in a very high risk job as well. But being the partner of someone in a job like that, I can't imagine the stress. But the love that you have for them definitely outweighs that. that fear for the most part, I would think. I think sometimes it does take a toll, but yeah, so we'll see how that one goes. Up next, I have Oceans of Mercy. This is written by Mallory Ford, and this is book number 1 in the Magnolia Island series. This one has 86 ratings with an average of 4.47. And I don't see any tags on this one that I can tell you anything about it. So we're just going to have to dive right on into the synopsis. It says, marine biologist and aptly nicknamed Shark Girl, Allie Jameson, has always been the peacemaker of her 5 siblings, preferring to fly under the radar and only making waves when it comes to her questionable dating choices. Boat captain and Allie's longtime best friend, Knox Parker, is struggling with his feelings for the girl who has been there for him through the good and the hard. He knows he has feelings for her, but can he risk their friendship to tell her? Let's see. Knox has been a strong and steady presence in Allie's life for as long as she can remember, their friendship spanning the test of time and multiple tragedies for them both. Still, as Allie begins to grow as a person and in her faith, she realizes she's let those around her fight her battles for her for far too long. It's time for her to step up and stand up for herself. But old habits die hard for Knox, who has been her protector since childhood. Now I'm wondering, because this one does say faith, where she wants to grow in her faith or something like that I just read, I'm wondering if this one is actually a Christian fiction as well. So something, so definitely heads up on that. You might, if you're interested in this one, definitely want to look more into that just to be sure before you spend your money on it if it's something that you don't want in your books. Just as Allie and Knox navigate the growing pains of their changing friendship and feelings for one another, a routine dive reopens a long-closed missing persons case that has deeply personal ties to Allie's family. At the same time, an unexpected career opportunity for Allie thrusts her into the spotlight and stretches their friendship to the point where they must either bend or break. Oceans of Mercy is it's a friend. Okay, so this is going to be Christian because it does say faith again. It says Oceans of Mercy is a friends to lovers story of faith, romance, family, and the unique gifts God gives to those who love him. So, and it says each are individual books following one of the Jameson siblings in their lives and loves. So this is definitely a Christian fiction series. Okay, up next I have Taming Zach, written by Amy Sparling. This is book number 1 in Team Loco. 499 ratings with an average of 3.89. She never meant to fall for someone she can't have. He never meant to let her. I do see that this one's a young adult and sports romance. Bree Grayson lives a simple life in her small Tennessee hometown. She works as a maid with her mom and flags at the local motocross track on the weekends. It's good money, but it won't get her out of Hopewell. She's determined to make something of herself, but she'd settle for anything to get her out of this rut. Zach Penna's notorious motocross fame crashed and burned as quickly as he had risen to the top. He let the fame get to his head, and the partying and girls took over his life. Now he's off the race team, determined to get back into the sport he loves. He moves back home to spend the summer focusing solely on motocross. Girls are off the menu, and then he runs into Bree. Of course he does. She's gorgeous and sweet and everything he shouldn't have this summer. He doesn't recognize her as the girl from his childhood, but Bree knows exactly who Zach is. She's only had a crush on him forever. She knows he's a womanizer and too hot for his own good, and he's fun. But he's fun. Bree doesn't expect to fall for someone she can't have, and Zach doesn't expect to be pulled back into his world of fame before the summer is over. Will Bree finally be the girl to tame his wild ways, or will their romance crash and burn? It says Taming Zach is the first standalone book in the Team Loco trilogy, a series of flirty, sweet, new adult, it says NA, so I'm guessing it's new adult, contemporary romances. Okay, it does say it contains steamy scenes, no cliffhanger and happily ever after, and a happily ever after. So even though this was tagged on my email from Amazon as sweet romance, it sounds like this is possibly steamy, depending on how steamy it gets. So maybe a missed tag there. Okay, next up I have To Have and To Hold. See, here's another wedding one. And this one was written by Christy Rose, and this is book number 1 in the Merton Matchmaker, another Matchmaker series. So book number 1 in the Merton Matchmaker series. This one has 76 ratings with an average of 3.82. It does say this series was previously titled Merton Matchmakers. It was called Merton Matchmakers Book 1, Lottie Pursues Bill. So definitely had a title rebranding is what this sounds like. Love happens, but only if you believe. Friends to lovers? Pastry chef Lottie Lucas has loved Pastor Bill Collins since they were children, and they helped each other memorize their multiplication tables. But Lottie's tired of waiting for Bill to clue in that she's the one for him. When an opportunity to expand her growing cupcake line means she'll have to move out of Merton, Lottie must decide which of her heart's desires to pursue. Enemies to slightly tolerable? Elizabeth Bennett, owner of Merton Matchmakers, wants nothing more than for corporate raider William Darcy to butt out of her business. What possibly could the cold, standoffish loner know about love and affairs of the heart? If she can't convince William that Merton Matchmakers' value extends beyond its small yearly profit, she'll not only lose her livelihood, but her dream of helping others find love. It says this is for fans of Lizzie Bennet diaries and those who've dreamed of the million of other ways Mr. Darcy could woo Elizabeth. It's Pride and Prejudice retelling that shares stories of all those you've come to know and love and hate. So, if you like Pride and Prejudice, you might like the Pride and Prejudice retelling there. So, there's that one. Up next, I have A Sweet Reunion written by Maria Michaels. This is book number 1 in the Sweet Life series. This one has 133 ratings with an average of 4.26. It says they are clean and wholesome version of Heatherly Bell's Starlight Hill books. It says this is the same romance with all the cursing and sexual situations removed. Okay. So if you have read or know of Starlight Hill, but don't want the explicit sex, then it sounds like this is the exact same thing, but it's been cleaned. So the swearing has been removed and the sex has been eliminated. So good to know. Let's see. No cursing, no sex scenes, just sweet love. A Sweet Reunion is the clean and wholesome version of All of Me. What would you do for a second chance with your first love? So if you want the steamy sex, then obviously go and look at All of Me. I'm guessing by Maria Michaels. So she has a spicy version and a clean version. Welcome to wine country and the small town of Starlight Hill, California, where the wine flows freely and so does the gossip. The town has never quite forgiven Ivy Lancaster for leaving their favorite son, Dr. Jeff Garner, when she met a man on an online dating site. But when the people of the township took sides, the truth of her absence is something Ivy doesn't want anyone to know. When a sudden change of plans forces Ivy to work with her hunky ex, she must keep it professional or risk her heart all over again. So again, if you want the steamy sex, then go and look up All of Me, is the title, All of Me by Maria Michaels. So, but if you don't want the sex, then A Sweet Reunion is the title you want to go with. So, that's good to know. I like that the author that they've made that note in there, that they're the exact same, but one has the steamy sex and the other doesn't. Okay, this next one says, let's see, One Last First Date by Kate O'Keefe. This is book number 1 in the Cozy Cottage Cafe series. It says, Cassie Dunhill and her friends make a pact to marry the next guy they each date. What could possibly go wrong? Cassie Dunhill is sick of dating. It's been 10 years and it's time to find the one. It's either that or buy a fetching habit and veil and abandon the whole thing, but Cassie believes in love and she's not ready to give up yet. Cassie and her best friends make a pact that the next date they go on will be their one last first date. The pressure is on to find Mr. Right, and Cassie's the first to find him. Parker Hamilton. He's good-looking, smart, cultured, and a doctor. Despite his obvious credentials, Cassie's not taking any chances. She's vetted Parker so thoroughly she could offer some pointers to the CIA. Needless to say, he passes with flying colors. Things get complicated when Will Jordan, her irritating work colleague, muscles in on her dream job and her love life. Will, this typical guy, complete with nicknames for everyone, even Cassie. Will is a typical guy, complete with nicknames for everyone, even Cassie. Man, I read that sentence way wrong. His good looks and relaxed, easy nature can be distracting, but Cassie can do without that kind of distraction right now, no matter how good Will looks with his shirt off. So I'm kind of wondering where it says with it, how he looks with his shirt off, if it actually is not going to be a sweet one, but it was tagged as sweet, so I don't know. Okay, next up I have, this one is tagged as British literature, and this one is called The House at Magpie Cove, written by Kennedy Kerr. And the series, this is book 1 in the Magpie Cove series. This one has 1,466 ratings with an average rating of 4.21. The Cornish beach house creaked in the salty sea wind, and from the weathered wooden porch, Mara watched a lone magpie circle above. It was silly to think that her mother's spirit was still with her, but Mara felt as if there was something keeping her there, a secret that needed to be told. When Mara Hughes inherits her late mother's tumbled-down beach house overlooking the bright sandy sweep of Magpie Cove, it couldn't have come at a worse time. With her marriage on the rocks and her husband threatening to take the family home, the beach house, with all the bittersweet memories it holds, might be the thing that finally sends Mara's world crashing down around her. She tells herself she'll only spend a few days there, sell it, and move on to rebuilding her life. When Mara arrives, the house is in a worse state than she feared. Holes in the bedroom ceiling, birds' nests in the attic, and the beautiful wrap-around porch on the brink of collapse. But she loves it anyway. With all its history, it feels like the last link to her late mother, and, determined to do whatever it takes to keep it in the family, Mara strikes a deal with a local handyman and town heartthrob, Brian Oakley, to save the crumbling cottage from ruin. But when a box of unopened old letters arrives on her new doorstep, a bequest from her mother's will, Mara's resolve to save the beach house will be tested to the limit, because Mara's mother's perfect childhood in Magpie Cove was forever spoiled by one haunting day in July, and the letters contain a secret about her family that Mara can scarcely believe to be true. That sounds really good. That sounds really good. I am really interested in that one. Okay. That is definitely higher up on my radar. Will I remember the title of that? Probably not, but that sounds really good to me. Okay. The last one I'm going to tell you about in this particular video is called Fourth Down. This looks like it's a football romance, a sport romance, because the cover that I'm seeing on Goodreads, the girl is holding a football. So this is written by Heidi McLaughlin, and this is number 1 in the Portland Pioneers series. This has 581 ratings with an average of 4.32. And I don't see any other tags that I need to say that you're aware of. So, sports romance. Autumn LaRosa has been playing defense since the moment she met Julius Cunningham. So, girls football. That's cool. I haven't read anything with the girls football team. After accepting a position as a meteorologist in Portland, she strives to make a good first impression. Then she meets the arrogant wide receiver who belittles her in front of her new friends. Okay, so maybe they're both on different football teams or co-ed. I don't know. She could have walked off the sting of his bitter words, but he keeps showing up in her social circle. Now she is determined to meet him at the line of scrimmage and prove she's not one to back down. Julius Cunningham is well aware there's a flag on the play after his harsh words to Autumn. The more he sees of Portland's new weather girl, the clearer it becomes his judgments of her were unfounded. But how can he call a timeout on the animosity he created? When Autumn attends a charity event with the Portland players, she sees an opportunity too tempting to resist. Julius looks miserable being a part of the date auction, making it even more fun for Autumn to bid. Will she use the opportunity for some good old-fashioned payback, or will this be their fresh start at the 20-yard line? Get ready for the snap and sprint for this end zone because Autumn and Julius are headed for either a tackle or a touchdown. So sounds like this is going to be heavily rooted in football terminology and stuff. So definitely something to be aware of. So that's going to be it for everything that when I got all the various emails, they were labeled as sweet romance, but it sounds like there's some that's actually, or at least definitely one, maybe two, that's actually possibly steamy and not sweet. I am not positive on that, so don't quote me on that. But let me know if you've read any of these or anything by any of these authors. If maybe you heard these and are now intrigued to look into any of these, definitely let me know. Just talk to me in the comment section in general. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I'll talk to you later.